What is up, rollers? It's Rollin' Dirty coming back at you with another video. This time I'm riding the V12 high torque, and I'm riding it on a path that I have ridden in the past. You may have seen this in some other videos, but the weather's kind of cleared up here again recently, and so the ground is starting to dry a little bit, and I thought I might try this trail a little bit. The reason I'm riding the V12 high torque right now is because later on today I'm going to be going to the Seattle night ride, and I'm saving the batteries on my Sherman-Max for that. Otherwise, I usually ride this path with the Sherman-Max, with the exception of a little river path coming up here that I do not ride on the Sherman-Max because pedal height is not really accommodating for the way that trail is. However, the V12 high torque is perfect, and these pedals are in the top position, so I've got the most clearance that can be offered for the V12. And I know that some of the newer suspension wheels are even a little higher. They probably do even better than the V12 does here, but it does fairly well. I'm trying to be cognizant of people along the path here, those that don't see me or those that have dogs. I try to slow down for the dogs because they're kind of unpredictable. And if they're going to run out in front of me, I'd prefer they do it at, 5 miles an hour as opposed to 15 miles an hour or whatever it is I'm traveling at the time. This is a fairly easy journey here. What I'm trying to do is work my way up through under this bridge up here to a parking lot, from which the trailhead is for that river path that I'm going to ride here in a minute. And that path actually comes full loop and brings me back around to where I want to be to return on this path that I just came in on. Now, mind you, I've been riding this already for probably about an hour, and pretty hard. I started at 92% battery, and by the time I get to here, I'm probably, I want to say I'm about 48% battery, maybe a little less. And so I am taking a little bit, taking a little easy here, just because I've got lower voltage. Oh yes, the stock tire in mud. That's never fun. I've got lower voltage here, and so I'm trying to be a little more careful because I don't want to have cutouts on bumps and whatnot due to lower voltages. Not that there's usually anything on this trail that is too difficult, but it's kind of taking it easy. I think you've seen me do this trail in another video, and I do it a little bit quicker on that one because I've got higher voltage at the time. Another reason to take it easy on this trail is that it is a public trail, and it's frequented all day long by folks that are visiting simply to walk this trail for recreation. And so because it's really narrow, I got to take it nice and slow because there's a lot of blind corners. If I come around a corner and there's somebody there, I could cause an accident that wouldn't be fun for anybody. So I'm trying to be mindful of that. Anyway, this is the reason I bought the V12 right here, is for this kind of a trail. A little narrower, some rocks and roots sticking up. It really shines a lot better. Like the other day I was at Rattlesnake Lake with the Sherman-Max, and I was riding down on the lake bed, and there was a rock sticking up that kind of caught the edge of my pedal, and I saw it coming, so I wasn't going fast, but when it happened, of course, it knocked me right off. Fortunately, I landed on my feet. So there really is something to pedal height. when I received the V12 fresh out of the box, I went ahead and just hopped right on it to see how that felt, because I didn't know if I was going to like the high pedals or not, but it felt fine as soon as I got on it. So I was like, you know, if it feels good, I'm just going to stick with this, because I'm going to appreciate the clearance, I think, later. And that's certainly been the case. It's been a pretty capable wheel. I'm just a little bit surprised that as far as by comparison against the Sherman Max, you know, they both, I think, have a 2800 watt motor. The Max feels like it's got a little more torque than this, and that's surprising, because we're talking the difference between a 16 and a 20-inch wheel. So you'd really expect the V12 to have more torque, but that being said, it is sufficient for its needs, and it's certainly got plenty. So, you know, I don't mind that Inmotion tuned it back a little bit in the name of safety, just because it's a capable wheel as it is. One thing I wish they had improved on is the cooling, because this wheel does tend to heat up going uphill pretty quick. Something the Sherman Max excels at. It doesn't heat up nearly as quickly. So the stock tire on this is great for riding on pavement. It's not the best for pavement. It's not the best for trails. It's kind of got a band of rubber right down the middle that gives you a street tire feel when you're right on the center of the tire. And then there's a little bit more tread on the sides, which makes it good for the trails. That being said, because it's not a knobby, you've seen it slip around in some of the material that it otherwise probably would not have if it had a knobby tire. So on the road it's great. It's not too noisy. One thing I have noticed though is, and I've seen others talk about this, is that sometimes the tire can come on these a little bit mounted a little off, so it's not like, you know, if you look down on it while you're riding, it looks like the tire's waving back and forth. So that's something to look out for. If you get one of these, it can be fixed. You have to, you know, deflate the tube and kind of shift the tire around a little bit in the places where it seems like it's sitting a little differently on the bead. All that being said, every time I get on this wheel, I enjoy it. It's really just fun to ride. It takes a little bit for me to get used to it again, coming from the Sherman Max, but I mean, that little bit is like 5 minutes, and then I'm back in it, and I remember how it feels, and I'm good. Pretty incredible little wheel. Packs a lot of punch for its weight, that's for sure. And this is me taking it easy still, just because battery's a little lower right now. Coming up, you'll see me riding on a trail where I lose it. I hit a wet root and it sends me off. So you'll see me dive down into that trail once I'm back across the path that you saw me ride in on. This is going to take me right back to it, so I can go back and then find the trailhead of that other trail. I've talked about how not hugging the wheel and riding relaxed can really help you with the wobbles, and this is a perfect example of it. You know, my legs are at best barely touching the sides here, and they really only push up against the wheel when I'm in a corner, and that's just one leg usually. The other one kind of comes away from the side. Squeezing the wheel doesn't really help, I've found. You know, the wheel wants to stay upright. And it's going to carry you as long as you let it stay upright. But if you're squeezing the wheel, you're actually influencing its inertial movement by inputs from your body. So whereas the wheel wants to go straight, when you start squeezing the wheel, you're slightly turning the wheel here and there, and that's what leads to wobbles. So if you relax on the top of the wheel and you let the wheel go straight and you just kind of ride it, you'll find that you don't have nearly as many wobbles. And I've seen some folks that have had some trouble with those on the V12 specifically, and that might be because of the pedal height. It also might be because of newness to riding. But ultimately what it comes down to is on EUCs, the more you can relax on top of the wheel, the safer you're going to be, because the more control you're going to have over the wheel. Now there are some cases where you need to squeeze the wheel, but they're pretty rare. So as a general rule, you just want to relax on top of the wheel and let the wheel move you. And your job is really just to stay on top of it. Holding on to the wheel is going to be counterproductive. You just want to be, this is going to sound cliche, but you just want to be one with the wheel. Where you're riding with it and it's riding with you, and neither of you are really trying to push one or the other out of the direction that you're moving. I'm wearing my road helmet today because I misplaced my 100% goggles. I think I dropped them somewhere coming back from a ride. Haven't been able to find them, so I ordered another pair and I upgraded because I was not really satisfied with the Strata. They're okay, but the lens wasn't super clear. Had its issues. And they were budget, so no big deal, but I mean, if you're looking for a clear visibility, which I recommend because seeing is everything when it comes to riding these things, then you probably want to be spending closer to $80 to $100 on a pair of goggles as opposed to $25 to $35, which is about what the Stratas cost. So I think if you went with 100% or any of the other brands, like Fox has got a nice offering, and anyway, there's several that have a pretty nicely reviewed goggles at about the $100 mark. One thing I did do on my street helmet though, right before this ride, was I installed a pin lock system. And that pin lock lens, man, that is totally a game changer for preventing fogging inside that helmet. What a difference. It's basically never fogs. It never fogged where the pin lock was this whole trip. And I got pretty warm, so that's saying a lot, because normally this thing just, previous to installing that pin lock, this thing just fogged up like crazy. This trail is a little more technical. It's got a lot of roots on the bottom, and it was raining recently, so you can see the ground is kind of wet. And when the ground is kind of wet, the roots are wet. And you'll see that when I hit one of these roots, the tire slides on that smooth center rubber section of the tire, just slips, and off I go. It's always this last set of roots too, because they're actually the most complicated on the trail before you exit. That something's going to happen. Here it comes. Would your dad tell you when you fell down? Get back up. And if it was a horse you fell off of, told you to get back on the horse. Of course, I'm too lazy to walk out, so I'm definitely getting back on anyway. You can hear me breathing here. I'm a little warm. That's why I opened up the helmet. What's cool about this trail is it just like dumps right into a neighborhood. So usually I come out this trail and there's, if it's a really nice day, there's families out playing and in the cul-de-sacs and stuff, and here comes this weird dude on this one-wheeled vehicle. Well guys, in summary, I'll tell you again, the V12 is a great value. I think they're lower priced right now. It's a really easy way to get into a really good off-road unicycle. Another one I might recommend looking at right now too is, well, it's not off-road, so just in keeping with the theme here, the V12 is the one I'd recommend looking at for off-road at this point. You can look at the T4 as well. T4's got suspension. No wheel is perfect. T4 has been dealing with a few issues that they're working out right now and resolving. Motor issues specifically, and a couple other items. But you know, if you're looking in the horizon as to what you're going to buy and you want a 16-inch, I think T4 is a good one to look at as well. As always, guys, there's links in the description for any purchases you might want to make from eWheels or eRides, and thanks for watching.